My name is Amelia Clark. I'm a senior, and this summer I interned at the International Organization for Migration, and I'm going to call it IOM for short because that name is just too long to say every time. So it's an international organization, and it's very similar to a UN agency in that it has 157 member states and works to serve those member states. So its goals are to ensure orderly and humane migration, find practical solutions to migration problems, and promote international cooperation on migration. So I'm sure you guys have been hearing a lot about migration this summer and especially this fall, with a lot of issues really escalating. So it was a really special time for me to be there and really learn about these issues. So you might be wondering how I ended up in Geneva at the IOM. So I was involved in the Global Health SSIR my sophomore year, and that really introduced me to issues of development and global health, and really sparked a passion for me in this field. So that led me to pursue a major in healthcare and studies and French, which also led me to study abroad, first in Peru, and then in Geneva, Switzerland, and then in the spring I was in Dakar, Senegal, in West Africa, and then as you can tell I went back to Geneva. So over this time I really got interested in different vulnerable populations and the challenges they face, and especially the health challenges that they face. I've done a healthcare studies major. And most specifically I was interested in mobile populations. Maybe because I've been doing so much moving around was why I got interested in this. And the issues that they face. So in around February, I contacted a mentor that I had met during my first semester abroad in Switzerland, who worked at IOM in the Migrant Health Division department, about a potential internship this summer. And she said, after a little back and forth, it was pretty difficult because the Wi-Fi in Senegal is not the best, so after some very scratchy Skype sessions, we were able to work out the details. So I got my visa 2 days before I left and picked it up, and I switched my flight and I headed back to Switzerland instead of going home. So at that point I'd been abroad for almost 12 months. And so I arrived in Switzerland. I was wearing my short sleeve shirt and my flip-flops, and I got off the plane and it was pouring rain. And I hadn't seen rain in 4 months, so I was really surprised since it was the dry season in Senegal. And so everyone was wearing black jeans and rain boots, so I felt super out of place. But I was ready to start my internship. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about migration and how it relates to health. So this is just a broad definition of migration from the IOM. And before this internship, I think I had a really narrow view of what migration is, pretty limited to people climbing on overcrowded boats or jumping over fences into Texas or things like that. And I'm sure it's very similar to everyone else's view of migration, but I really learned that migration is so much more than that. And everyone probably knows someone who spent any amount of time in another country, whether for study abroad or moved there for their entire life. And migrants are so important to the communities that they go to and what they bring back to their own communities if they return. So there are 1 million migrants currently on the move right now, and for countless reasons. They can be economic or social or for family or just looking for a better life. And migrants bring new ideas and belief and energy, innovation, diversity to their new communities. And they're really so important, but they also can pose pretty serious health threats to themselves and to the communities that they visit. So I'm just going to walk you through the migration process and the vulnerabilities that migrants and their communities face during the whole migration process. So before they leave, there is usually an event or a reason that's causing a migrant to leave their home country and go to a different country or a different location. And these can be events like war, natural disasters, and human rights violations that put migrants already in a vulnerable health situation. So then during travel, I'm sure everyone knows, even just when you get on a plane or a 1-hour flight, you're more likely to catch a cold or become sick. You have to take emergency before you get on the plane. And so imagine these difficult conditions that migrants face when they're traveling, and all the different things that can impact their health while they are traveling to their new location. Very diverse and difficult journeys that they face. So then, once they're in their host communities, there are also a lot of difficult things they can face. So if they're not legally in their host communities, they might feel afraid to seek health services. They also might be working really hard, since if that's why they moved to their new community. So they might have really hard working conditions that affect their health. And also they can bring diseases from their home communities to their host communities. Or maybe their home community was really healthy and their new host community has a lot of diseases that weren't in their home community. So there's just a lot of ways to spread disease, but also acquire non-communicable diseases from their work conditions. And then a lot of migrants, we think of migration as just one-sided, but as the Prezi shows, it can be very cyclical, and people move seasonally or go and come back. Like I went and studied abroad and then came back. And so, but when migrants return back to their home nations, a lot of things can change, and that can also often be linked to the reason that they left in the first place. So an example of natural disasters, when they go back, their hospitals might be destroyed, or there might not be any doctors, which also puts them in a vulnerable health situation. So what IOM does is try to intervene and make migration a healthier process. So just a quick example might be with travel health assistance, so going to places where we know a lot of migrants are going to be moving, and screening them for health issues that they might have. And then if there's someone who's really sick and we know that they're going to get on that boat anyway, send a nurse with them, or send any sort of health professional to make sure that they make it and that they're going to be safe throughout their journey to make it to their destination. So you might want to know what I was doing this summer. So one of my major events was the malaria dialogue. So this summer, when I first arrived, was the World Health Assembly, which is the annual meeting of the World Health Organization. So the IOM coordinated this event that went along with the World Health Assembly to discuss malaria and how migration can impact malaria. So we invited all the ministers of health and a lot of people from organizations working on malaria, so that they could discuss these links and what certain countries have done to overcome the difficulties posed by migration and malaria. And then I also really enjoyed, IOM had a lot of interns. I think we had over 50 interns at IOM in different divisions, so we really got to discuss at our weekly intern discussions, and they invited someone from a different department to speak each week to us. And so that was really cool to learn from people in different departments, because I was very focused on my migrant health division projects, but to hear from a woman in fundraising who had just come back from Nepal, and hear her side of it. She was able to tell us about how everyone working in Nepal at all the UN organizations and all the nonprofits who were very focused on getting the job done and helping people who need the most help, but she was there as a fundraiser to take pictures and hear from everyone, and so that they could send the reports back, because if the people working in Nepal run out of money, they have to stop, they have to leave, they have to get out. So she was there to make sure that all the stories were getting sent back, and documenting what was going on, so that everyone abroad, all the donors and fundraisers abroad, knew what was going on and why they should be helping. And then finally, I just loved being in Geneva, because it's such an international hub, and there were events at different UN agencies every week, and all the interns there were so excited about all the same issues that I was. So I just really think it was special to be in Geneva this summer. So I also want to bring in my academic component. So in Geneva, everything is very beautiful and perfect all the time. The roads are perfect, and The landscaping is perfect, so sometimes it's really hard to remember what I was doing and why I was doing it. I think my assignments from Dr. Mays really helped to remind me what I was doing and who I was helping, because I often felt pretty removed. So I got to read some real stories of real people who were being influenced by the work that I was able to complete. So it really helped to bring me back down to earth and remind me of what I was doing. And I also really enjoyed the Skype sessions or phone calls with all the other interns, and I thought that there wouldn't be many connections since our internships all seem so different, but I was really surprised through Cassie's facilitation how many connections there were between our internship. So I had a really amazing and eye-opening summer, and I'd really like to thank my supervisor, Nanette, my mentor, Dr. Mays, Cassie, and Heather, and everyone at the CCE for this amazing opportunity.